I'd like to welcome you to the Uncut Thread. It's a chat series exploring the world of quilting through conversation with special guests. And each week we examine ideas, traditions, and creative practices that shape quilting as both craft and art. My name is Cheryl Hills, and I'm your host today. I want to thank you for joining us for today's episode. Now, today we are going to talk about the Visual Vortex. Where do you go online to find your next great African fabric project? So we're going to dive into something that I think every quilter experiences. You know the feeling, right? You open your phone to check one thing, and then 30 minutes later, you've saved 15 quilts. You've ordered 3 yards of Ankara fabric. You've bookmarked 6 tutorials, and somehow you've forgotten why you picked up your phone in the first place. So welcome to the Visual Vortex. Today, we're going to find inspiration online, what makes us stop scrolling, and then how those digital moments become real quilts for us on our sewing tables. So through our conversation today, I'd love to hear from everyone in the chat. So open up your chat. Don't be shy about sharing your own personal experiences. So let's get started. So today I'd like to welcome our guest, Melinda Johnson. Melinda, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Melinda Johnson, and I have been quilting about 6 years now, since the pandemic. I started quilting because I couldn't go anywhere. And I was making masks, and I decided I wanted to do more.
So I want to say one other thing about Melinda and her quilting journey, and that is her quilting journey includes generosity. Melinda is working on a special project with So Creative Lounge that has brought together a group of volunteers to make a quilt that will be hung in a museum. So she has volunteered countless number of hours to make that project come to fruition. And in the near future, it will be announced. So Melinda, thank you for your generosity in the quilt world.
Thank you.
So let's get started. You are on your phone, you're on your laptop. What was the first or maybe the last image that you saw that made you stop scrolling and say, I really like that, I want to make that, it's intriguing? When was that recently that happened to you?
Oh, it was this year. I was watching Missouri Star online, and they were advertising for kits to make a crazy quilt. And I said, oh, I have all this scrappy fabric. I'm going to make a crazy quilt. And so that's what I did. I gathered all my scraps and I made me a crazy African quilt.
So let's talk about those scraps. Where do you usually go to purchase those fabrics? Was there a color that you preferred, or how did you actually get that collection of scraps together?
Well, I take, for African scraps, I go to So Creative Lounge and get theirs. For other fabrics, it's just anything I make, I save it, and I'm gonna use it for something. And the African scrappy quilt was all African scraps that I bought from So Creative Lounge.
So you're kind of like me. I garment sew as well as quilt, and any piece of African fabric that's left over from a garment will definitely appear somewhere in a future quilt of mine. So when it comes to finding inspiration and making quilts, it looks like Missouri Star piqued your interest and you made a crazy quilt. So let's talk about Missouri Star and the pattern, and how did you actually learn to make this crazy quilt with the scraps that you had?
Oh, well, they sell templates to start off for starting your crazy quilt. And even in the olden days, they made scrappy quilts, also crazy scrappy quilts. And they use all kind of different fabrics to make their quilts. So Missouri Star was trying to make an old-fashioned crazy quilt by using all kind of different textures of fabric. And so I already had a template that I got from online. Uh, and I said I had this fabric that I got a long time ago, and I couldn't figure out anything to do with it. So I said, that's going to be my center for my crazy quilt. And I had all these scraps, and I went from there.
So it sounded like you started from the center out.
Yes, you start from the center out.
I've never made a crazy quilt before. So you got your quilt top together and started admiring all those great scraps. What was your inspiration for how to actually quilt all those 3 layers together?
Well, my layers are actually 4. I like heavy quilts.
Oh, tell us
So
about
I have the top layer and 2 layers of batting. And then the back of this quilt is also scrap. So it's 4 layers. And so I put all those 4 layers together, and it's very heavy. And I have a domestic sewing machine. I do not have a long arm. I have a domestic sewing machine. So, you get some strength and you work through it. And because I just have a domestic, I couldn't do any fancy quilting on it. I could just do straight quilting, and you couldn't get a whole bunch of it through the arm, either the you know the throat of the machine. So therefore, I quilted some, and I tied the rest. I tie quilted the rest.
Okay. And what type of fiber did you use to tie your quilt off? Did you use yarn or embroidery floss? What did you use?
Pearl thread, pearl embroidery floss. Yes.
Okay. Was it all the same color, or did you use different colors?
Um, I think it's 2 colors on here. It's 2 colors.
So
It's
I
it's it's
believe
so busy you can't tell it's there.
sounds like a work of art. And I think Melinda has this quilt that she can pick up and show us some sample sections of the quilt.
Oh, yes, it's very heavy. It's a roughly 65 by 75, and very warm.
Look at that.
All all crazy quilts usually have spiders and webs in it, so I embroidered my spider web on here.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I didn't put the spider on because I didn't want to freak myself out when he was in bed with me. So this is the front of the quilt.
That's beautiful. Look at all those great colors.
And my borders are scraps too. It looks like it might be binded, but it's not. I did not bind this. I turned it inside out.
Oh, it's so pretty.
And on the back, it's also scrappy too.
2 sides. It's twice the quilt. That's beautiful.
And there, here where you can see the ties of the quilt,
Oh, very nice.
where the quilt is tied.
Okay.
It's tied and is machine quilted.
Okay.
And it's very, very, very warm. And these are all scraps.
Love it. Love it. That is a beautiful quilt. So, Melinda, what type of batting do you use? Bob wants to know if you've ever tried using wool batting.
No, have never tried wool batting. It's usually a combination of like 2080 or 1090 kind of batting. And I bought a lot of my battings from Walmart, actually.
Okay.
On the boat.
Quilt.
Huh?
That's smart. And you have a very warm quilt. And I take it that you actually use that quilt. It's functional.
Yes, it's on my bed.
I love it. I love it. That's wonderful. I really like that. And in the chat, Clovis says that is a beautiful quilt.
Thank you.
So people love it. So question for the chat. What was the last thing that you saw online that made you stop scrolling and start getting inspired to create?
Well, actually, I saw one of your quilts on the wall, and I said I want to make that, and that was the African Queen, and I started making it, and it's on my design wall as we speak. This is one block.
Very nice.
I only brought a few down. It's still on the wall. It's another block.
I love the background.
Another one.
Look at
it's
that.
all scrappy. And when I finish, it's going to be, I'm probably going to do the same thing. I'm probably going to make it a warm quilt.
So all those squares are going to go into one big quilt.
Oh, there's many more. Yes. It's going to be like 12 to 15 squares. I'm still working on it.
That's very nice.
But I got inspired by the lady I saw on your wall, and also Jenny from Missouri Star. She gave a tutorial and the measurements. Now, what I did was she gave the measurements for the lady, but the lady comes in as a slant. And so I put her on point.
Yes, you did.
Because I didn't want to have her slanted.
That makes sense. The large one that I did was created by Nancy Godette Martin of the Quilt Africa tribe. She led us through a tutorial on that. And I think wow. That quilt block is iconic now when it comes to African fabric and quilting with wax prints. I think it's something that's very popular now and always makes for an absolute.
Well, I didn't know anything about it till I really saw it on your wall.
Inspiration comes from everywhere. And
everywhere.
I was inspired by Nancy's version of that quilt. So we'll just keep passing it on.
Okay.
You know, there are lots of different types of inspiration. We get inspired by seeing somebody else's work. We get inspired by seeing something online. Where else do you get your inspiration from? So you've been on YouTube and Missouri Star's specific website. Are there any other places that you've gone to, even if you haven't made a quilt, just to get ideas or inspiration?
Yes, I go on Pinterest. I go all over the web and see. I first decide my purpose for making whatever I'm going to make. I like to make things that have a purpose or something I'm going to do with. I like utilitarian kind of quilts. So I'll go on Pinterest and look at theirs, and I'll do that. Even when I do like my photography, you see all these beautiful backgrounds and stuff. I will take fabric and make it a background and do picture with it. So
Okay.
whatever hit me.
Okay. So you mentioned photography, and in addition to quilting and sewing, Melinda has photography as another one of her hobbies, and it works both ways for her in inspiring the sewing, and the sewing inspires the photography. Can you talk a little bit more about how fabric inspires your photography?
Because the fabric is so vibrant and so pretty. So I will get something like a plexi reflective glass for the bottom, and then make the fabric for the back. So you have a reflector kind of picture. Say you put a glass or a nice piece of jewelry, you'll have all that in reflection in your picture.
So kind of glass-like.
Well, it could be glass, it could be anything that has nice color that reflect. Right now, I'm doing a project with fruits and vegetables, and I took African fabric, put it on the back, and put my fruits down below on the plexiglass, and took a picture. So you have all that reflection. It almost looks like a kaleidoscope sometimes, depending on what you have. It comes out pretty. I like it.
So have you ever thought about taking one of your pictures and turning it into a quilt?
I haven't done it yet, but I've seen one of the members of So Creative. They took family pictures and made a quilt out of it. I've been thinking about doing it, but it's not a inexpensive project. But yeah, I have thought about it. I haven't done it yet.
Okay. So while you're thinking about that, would you be going to other sources to get inspiration on how you might make that work for you?
Sure, because there are different processes, and I have to choose the one that's right for me and the procedure that would be right for me. So I go find what I think I'm capable of doing, and I may combine two procedures, but I will find a way to make it so I can do it, and it's easy for me.
Okay. So where would you go online to kind of enhance that inspiration? Would you go to Pinterest? Would you go to YouTube? Would you go to Google? Where do you think you would go to keep that process rolling for that particular quilt?
All those, I will go to all those. Also, I will go to places that will advertise the paper. You can buy fabric that you can put into your printer, and they'll print the image out. Even they have videos on how to do it. So anywhere, everywhere, ask people. I will everything to get
So
the project done.
let's talk a little bit about color, because you mentioned the kaleidoscope effect that you had in your picture.
Mhm.
Do you have favorite colors that you prefer to quilt with? I know you like scrappy, but do you lean towards, I want all my scraps to be red, or I want all my scraps to be yellow? Do you ever think about specific colors when it comes to being inspired?
If I'm going to do I did a quilt for a guy that was a retired Air Force. I did a quilt for him, and he liked blue. He liked blue, but I wanted to give him his blue, but I also wanted to reflect his service in the Air Force. So most of the colors was blue, but you had to pop it with some red. And I went online and bought some panels that of Air Force figures and decoration and put in there. So I will do it for a specific reason, but in general, I'm gonna try to go scrappy.
Okay, all right, that sounds nice. So when you're looking at and being inspired by another person's work. Have you ever considered contacting that person or talking to them about what inspired them to create it?
I haven't contacted anyone, but I do belong to a B and I belong to So Creative Lounge. So I'll ask people there um, how they do things and what made them do it. I have to see how you think or how they think to kind of see if I can do it. So I will ask their opinions and how they did it.
So your quilting bee, does that meet in person or does it meet online?
Um, I started with them during the pandemic, so it was all online. After the pandemic, they started meeting in person, but they've been having some issues with locations and stuff. But yes, they meet in person now.
So how has that group inspired some of the things that you've done?
Well, you ask the things that you don't know or you don't have a clue of how to do. So they're really a good resource because they're been quilting for 20 and more years, plus years. So I asked them different questions so they could tell me and give me an idea of how I can go about it, where I can produce what I want to produce.
Okay, right. So has social media changed anything about how you go about doing your quilting or coming up with ideas?
Social media, I mean, I get ideas from social media, especially Facebook. I see some things there and I joined like Scrappy Girl uh, groups and stuff like that. But I haven't got into putting my work on social media, but I have had conversations recently asking somebody how they go about that.
So when you get an idea and you see it online or you get inspiration, what do you do? Do you actually print it? Do you screenshot it? How do you keep that inspiration fresh?
Well, if I see it online, hopefully there's a tutorial about it. And I can go to a tutorial and I can just watch it and I will recreate it that way. And they'll show different ways to do it. And I'll just put my spin on it.
So the last image that you saw online, did it cause you to immediately go out and get fabric to make it, or did it make you go through your stash and put together fabrics to make it, or does it remain sort of an idea for the future?
Well, if it's something I like the little African ladies, I immediately went through my fabrics and see what I had because they are of a certain width, so you got to have that width in your stash. So yeah, I went through it and see what I could use to make it. Now, if it's something that is very specific, um, like I have a quilt here that I made for my door, my front door, and I wanted to make it for the 4th of July. So I had to get specific fabric, and I'll do that to make it. So I made this for my front door,
Oh, look at that. Very nice.
and that represents the 4th of July. So I had to get all these different fabrics to so I can have to make this quilt for my front door. So during the 4th of July week, I hang this on my front door. So in that sense, yes, I'll go searching for different fabric. And if I have to buy it, I'll do it.
So would you consider yourself, because you've mentioned both of these things, a visual browser where you're online and you're looking and things visually appeal to you? Or would you consider yourself a tutorial watcher where you go out and you look for tutorials to learn how to do it first?
No, I'm well, it's a combination. If okay, like when I first started quilting, before then I was making handbags and stuff like that. And I had a need for a book bag, but I didn't want a traditional book bag. So I went looking for book bags, and then I went looking for the tutorial that looked good to me so I can make it. And I found this tutorial and made this book bag
Straight from the tutorial.
straight from the tutorial. And she didn't even speak English. So, and it has zippers and everything. Zippers and everything. And straight from the tutorial. So it's a combination of both because I wanted not a traditional book bag, more like a purse where I could put a folder and everything in it. So I wasn't looking for
Very
it.
nice. Very nice. So I'm gonna just go to the chat for a moment and read just a couple of comments. Lisa says, your quilt is great. Your work is beautiful. Nancy, who was our designer of the large African lady quilt square, loves the queens. Monica was talking about her sister, she and her sister looking at various patterns, and they just imagine it using African fabrics. And Lisa says again, you're talented and creative. So let's talk just a couple minutes about the African fabrics.
Mm-hmm.
What what draws you to specific African fabrics? Is it the Ankara? Is it the color? Is it the symbols? What about using African fabrics attracts you to quilting?
It's the bright colors and the way they're put together. And the challenge to me with African fabric is finding something to complement it. That's a challenge, but it's the brightness of it of the fabric that I find appealing. Not so much the meaning and the symbols. I know that's important to people, but I just like it because it's appealing to me.
I can totally understand that because um, it can be challenging finding more than one fabric to work with that will complement what you have there. And
Mhm.
for me personally, I have to say that that's been a challenge for me. And I get inspired when I'm looking at the African fabrics, but the question always comes in, well, how on earth am I going to be able to mix this in with other African fabrics or something that I have in my
Mhm.
stash? So I'm going to bring up what inspires me when it comes to that challenge and what made me stop scrolling and go, hey, this is something that I would love to try
Mhm.
because the fabrics I think would work really well with that. So I'm going to share my screen and show you just a couple of things that kind of inspire me. So this quilt that's coming up is from Block of the Month Quilt Challenge with Quilt Africa Tribe called Guardians of Africa. And each month we made a different safari animal. And I originally tried to make the animals authentic and using the right colors, and then I gave up on that and decided my animals would be whatever color the Ankara fabric said it was going to be. So I ended up with a pile of 12 animals, and I didn't know what to do with arranging them in an actual quilt. So I went online and I did some scrolling and searching, just safari and quilting and African quilts, and I came across a quilt that was done by Lucy Faisley and Michael Burns, and they called it African Sunset. And it was a background with the globe, with the continent of Africa, and they had silhouettes of 3 or 4 different types of animals on that quilt. So I was inspired by the globe with the African continent on it, and I did my own inspirational version of their quilt and came up with this and mounted all my 12 months of animals around this globe with Africa on it. So I was totally inspired by somebody else's work of art.
That is nice. It is nice.
So the most recent one that stopped me from
look at that.
Scrolling, right? This is not African fabric, but this was something that I saw online that inspired me because of these big blocks and these big chunks of fabric, which for me was totally suitable to African prints because the prints are so large. This particular quilt is part of a BQ series. This quilt was done by Carol Tiles, and the BQ series is done by an outfit called, I can't remember what it's called, Maple, oh, it'll come to me in a minute, but I have another version of it. This BQ series goes from BQ1 to BQ9. And each one is a way to highlight big blocks of African quilt fabric. Right? Even though this particular company doesn't use African prints, I thought it'd be suitable to use an Ankara piece and highlight it without chopping it up too much. And it's Maple Island Quilt. So they have a series of BQ1 to BQ9. And the premise is using large scale prints and accenting them with some other secondary type of design. And I also have to say that participating in the Quilt Pattern Challenge, this was my inspiration for creating and designing a quilt pattern of my own, was I wanted something that would use these large scale prints, but also create a secondary design once you put the quilt together.
So did you have a pattern for that?
So this is not a quilt that I made. This is a quilt that somebody else made, but BQ 1 through 9 patterns are available online. So you can purchase these patterns, and they're all a similar premise, but the actual look of the quilt is a little bit different. And these are not difficult quilts to make, which is even better. So a beginner could easily, believe it or not, make this quilt. It's got rectangles, squares, which you can probably use a layer cake for, and there are half rectangle triangles, and that's
the lines are half square triangles.
They're half rectangle triangles.
Half rectangle. Okay.
So that's what's making those arrow shapes, is the half rectangle triangles.
Half rectangle. Okay.
Right. And you can actually go online and you see a tutorial for that. So
yeah, I actually have the rulers for the rectangular. I just haven't done it yet. Now I know what to do with it.
So here's some inspiration for making a quilt using half rectangle triangles and also something large scale. And
Okay.
this would also lend itself to being scrappy. This one happens to be blues, but you could, you know, get a pack of layer cake squares and just use anything, or cut your own 10 or 12-inch squares. This thing can be scaled to I think up to even 18-inch blocks. And then it's just how you set them and rotate them that will create this design. But I have to say Maple Island Quilts is one of my favorites because it has inspired me to be able to use some of this stash that I have behind me for quilting. So that's
Okay.
that's my inspiration for being able to come up with new quilt designs and something different that I'd like to
I like
try.
that.
So I haven't done it yet, but I'm looking forward to creating stuff with that.
Yeah, I like
So I,
that.
so I want to switch gears just a little bit. I want to kind of go back to your quilting bee and some of the places where you get inspiration that isn't necessarily online, of all of the places, and it can be online, but of all of the groups that you've interacted with or people that you've interacted with, what feels more like community to you versus, oh, it's just a group of people that are going to hand out patterns to me and I'm going to make them? What inspires you from a community standpoint? Which one of those groups that you deal with?
I wouldn't say one individual group because they offer different things individually, but together they give me a variety and a constant challenge. Um, I want to have the constant challenge and refreshing of new ideals. So I wouldn't say one particular one, but everything all together. They offer different things, but together, you know, you can find yourself, what you like.
And in what ways has that improved your quilting?
I didn't hear that.
In what ways has that improved your quilting? Being with the involved in different groups and communities.
Well, uh, not so much my physical quilting, but my getting my mind to think outside of the box instead of just one thing. Um, I want to do different things, like for instance, the quilting bee had challenges, and it just gave you uh, a subject, and you had to design and make it up your own quilt as you saw fit. And one of the challenges was pick a colorful bird and make a quilt. And for somebody like me that, you know, I was trying to think outside the box. So that was very challenging. And my quilt that I came up with, I like it. So uh, I call this is called the Black Lorry. And this came from the black cap lorry bird.
Oh, very nice. I
So
love the story behind it.
yeah, and I can and it's all scrappy. So and this is also a pattern from Donna Jordan. So I I just I just go whatever. And I could been so creative got me, you know, making vests and jackets and things like that, and also quilts. But you know, it's I'm not staying in one category. I'm broadening. So they offer different things.
So you talk about working with the groups. Where do you get the best feedback? What what keeps you going and motivated in the feedback department?
Well, the best feedback comes from, like I said, both. They both will do it differently. When you're in a larger group, you get to see a variety of things and a variety of different ways, and they may give you, nice feedback, but then you get to see where you can improve a little bit without it being verbal. You can see the different things that you can do. So I like that. It's like no pressure, but inspiring, kind of. Yeah. And the other group, they can give you more close feedback, um, but they may not always be as broad as the bigger group.
Okay. So in either one of those groups, are you an active participant, or do you simply admire without participating?
I'm active. They, I just showed you that the black cap quilt. That was a challenge. That was a challenge from the beat. Um, and so creatively, we got the quilt of the block of the month. So I participated in that, and then you and I on that big challenge that we have completed was a year long. That was a come on now. I hadn't done that before, so
It's
that
true.
was huge.
There's definitely your quilting skill and generosity at work, no doubt about it.
Yes, yes.
So I'm going to ask you a couple questions,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
What's your favorite quilting website?
Probably right now, Missouri Star.
Okay. And I know you've done some Missouri Star quilts. What else about Missouri Star piques your interest or keeps you engaged?
Their simplicity in, well, I like Jenny, but I hope she come back. Their simplicity in how they do their tutorials. Like when I first started out, I was watching them, and all these half square triangles and all those things, I was finding very, very intimidating till Jenny showed how to do it, and she admitted, like, okay, I have challenges too, and she showed you how to do them. So, and then they'll do different quilts, and where you can take what they do and transfer it to something else. So I like that.
I will also say that she is on mission in Africa and is teaching African ladies to sew right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she's using African fabrics as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you look at any quilting blogs?
You went out. I didn't hear the last part.
Do you look at any quilting blogs? Do you have a favorite blog that you like to read about quilting or sewing?
Oh, I go to different channels on YouTube. I like different channels on YouTube. Is that what you're talking about? That's the kind of
Yes.
blog kind of thing.
Yeah. Or one that you read.
Yeah,
Doesn't necessarily have to be
I do
visual.
different channels. Yeah, no
So
specific one.
I'm going to ask you to, because somebody in the chat has asked to see that quilt again, your bird
Which
quilt.
one?
The last one you showed, the bird quilt. Can you
Oh,
show that again?
okay.
And while you're getting that, can you think about what your favorite quilt challenge has been or you're involved in right now? What's your favorite
Oh,
challenge?
I had one. I have a quilt with that too. Okay, well, I'm gonna show this again.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. I had a quilt challenge, and this was also from the when uh, when the color purple came out. They asked us to make a quilt with one of your favorite sayings from the color purple. And I made this quilt. Never, everybody, well, they thought I was weird, but that's all right. And so I made this quilt right here. This is one of my favorite sayings from the color purple. Home fixing the shave mist.
Okay, tell us the inspiration behind the selection of that particular from the movie.
Huh?
Tell us why you chose that from the movie.
Because one, what she was about to do, but two, I always wanted to show you my husband, and he would never let me. So it always stuck with me.
See, we get inspiration in lots of different ways. No two people are the same.
Yeah. So I always loved that saying, and they ran and stopped her. Yeah.
So, can you tell us one quilting website or blog or quilt creator that everyone should follow, in your opinion?
I mean, if you're a beginner quilter, I mean, I'm keep saying Missouri Star, but that was the one for me. I also, what was there? I think it was, I think it was Patty Mac makes. She helped me make the what do you call that? French braid quilt. I enjoyed that, and that's how I made the backpack, the French braid. And she made it very simple how to lay the braids and do it. So I don't have a favorite, but I go to a lot of different ones. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book on quilting or a favorite author?
No, no favorite book or no favorite author. No.
How do you, when you're creating a quilt, and do you ever use paper patterns?
I have never used a paper pad. I think I have them, but I prefer to go to the video. I have some, but yeah, I have some, but I prefer to go to the video. I learn by seeing and then doing. Yeah. So the paper patterns can be confusing at times. So if I see it, I can do it. I can duplicate it.
So where would you say, and I kind of know where your favorites are, but if you were going to learn a new quilting technique or a
Mhm.
new quilting skill,
Mhm.
where would you go?
YouTube.
Okay. And is there a specific YouTube channel or influencer that you would go to learn a new technique or a new pattern?
No, I will go to whoever performs it where I can understand it. It wouldn't be a particular person, but I would hunt for the person who gave me the best demonstration of what I wanted to do.
So, how do you personally, because we have all these influences from all of our online and social media resources, how do you stay true to your own artistic voice?
Long as my quilt has a purpose and a reason, and it's going to be utilized. And if I'm making it for somebody, I'll consult with them. But if it's for me, I just do what I like. And if I enjoy it and it's doing what I want, I'm happy with that.
Have you ever felt overwhelmed by all of the online resources for inspiration?
I didn't hear the last part, inspiration
Have,
and
yeah, have you ever felt overwhelmed by all of these options that we have for inspiration? Have you ever just wanted to like tune it out?
no, I love it. Because somewhere in there, somebody's going to show me how to do what I want to do, or show me something I want to do, even if I have to use a combination of techniques. I love it.
So you had mentioned to me that Donna Jordan
Mm-hmm.
had played a role in your quilt journey.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about how Donna Jordan has inspired you with, I'm going to teach you how to make a quilt?
Yes, the last quilt, the bird quilt, that's a Donna Jordan pattern, and she will sit there and she'll show you how to do it, and show you different variations, because that is the smaller version of a large quilt that she did. So I would watch her and how she does it. Yeah. So I loved her tutorial. As long as I could get the pattern, because most of the patterns you gotta buy.
That's true. She every once in a while had that pattern that she would give you her own measurements on. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody who's out there listening and you're looking for a resource, Donna Jordan, late Donna Jordan, her videos are still out there, and her sole goal is to teach you how to make a quilt. And she goes through very thoroughly on exactly
Mm-hmm.
how to make the quilt that she's showing you.
Yeah.
So here's my next question for you.
Mm-hmm.
And for everyone in the chat. My next quilt will be inspired by
By what's the last part? By what?
what you say.
By what I say?
Yeah, what's going to inspire your next quilt?
My next quote will be inspired by something I want to do and something I need. And the video that will show me how to do that. I don't just make quilts just to make them. I make sure they have a purpose or reason. That's when I make it. So whatever I see while I'm scrolling, it's one quote I want. It's a La Berthe, some the Libyan star or something like that. I saw. I'm gonna make that. I saw that on Facebook.
Oh, see, there's another resource for you.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. Um, so when it comes to using African fabrics, Ankara, Mazine, Shway Shway, wherever the African fabric comes from, um, are you inspired by the fabric, or does the pattern inspire you to use the fabric?
The pattern, whatever pattern that I'm trying to make the quilt out, will inspire me to use the fabric. I don't think the African fabric goes with everything, so it would be the pattern that I'm trying to make.
Now, have you ever tried taking a traditional quilt block and using African print fabrics with something traditional, something?
That is my goal. I want to do it with a vest. Well, I did a vest. As a matter of fact, I did a vest. I used and made a vest, a quilted vest with it. I just did that. I forgot. Oh yeah, I did.
Okay. Melinda, do you have any other quilts or anything that you'd like to show us?
Uh, only only thing I have right next to me. When I first started to learn to quilt, I made something really small, so to see how it would work out. And and it was back in the pandemic, so my fabric choice was limited. And I watched a YouTube video, and I made a small quilted purse.
Oh, nice.
She's so cute. I like her. I like her. But this is my first purse and my first quilt, little quilt. I made a bigger quilt, but this was my first, and this started me to quilting. And it was on the you couldn't get any fabric, Holly. And so like all my little everything had roosters and chickens inside. That's all I could get. So,
I
but this
love
was
it.
one of my first inspirations to start quilting.
Nice.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of bling on it.
Yeah, yeah, the little shiny, yeah. These were 2.5 inch squares. I didn't know what to do with them. So
Mini
I did
charms.
this. Yeah. So that
Nice.
was like what started me to want to make a bigger quilt.
So I'm going to throw out to you and everyone just some other alternative resources that could inspire us
Okay,
to
got my paper and pencil.
make African inspired quilt projects. So, and Quilt Africa Tribe is number one. The website, the blog,
Quilt African Tribe.
Quilt Africa
You
Tribe,
said Quilt
uh,
African Tribe?
Africa
Okay.
Tribe, and Miriam's blog will
Uh,
not only
Africa.
expose you to all the different types of African print fabrics, but also will expose you to the culture behind them. So if you really want to learn about African fabrics, African culture, Miriam's blog is great. Kina Tangi Dorsey has a website, and she's got lots of African print fabrics on her website. If you're looking to do something very contemporary, her African inspired quilt, including the Iyanla quilt, which we did at the summit a few years ago, is another resource. She also has courses. Sugarstone Quilts is another online resource where their quilts are inspired by African fabric and African culture. You'll find influences from Ghana and Ndinkra symbols and Kente inspired cloth. So that's another resource. Sakwa, which we learned about in this past summit, the Studio Art Quilt Associates. Again, you go to the website, you see the work that people have done, and you can definitely get inspired to make contemporary quilts and substitute some African fabric in there. The American Quilt Study Group is a group I encourage everybody just to take a look at because they're trying to document quilt making and quilt history in the US. So you may be able to get in there and get a podcast and talk about your use of African fabrics in quilting. The Smithsonian National Museum of African Art. I personally am inspired by going to museums and getting ideas from there. Again, the Metropolitan Museum of Art or any art. The Victoria and Albert Museum has a vast African art collection that can inspire you. in their collection. They've got African cloths and textiles. They've got historical garments, a lot of things that can really just inspire you to create. And then we obviously have our usual Google, Pinterest, YouTube to inspire us to quilt. So, Melinda, we have actually
Yes.
come up on time. So, do you have any parting words to keep our audience inspired and quilting?
Well, let everything inspire you. There's something in everything.
There is something in everything.
Mhm.
So I totally agree. Inspiration is everywhere. It's all around us in museums or your grandmother's quilt or a quilt show. And, sometimes we're online at midnight, scrolling around, telling ourselves, I just one more picture, just one more. Um, but inspiration isn't just about collecting ideas. It's helps us to discover artists and techniques. And Belinda's got a quilting bee that she's established friendships with. We get stories that encourage us to make something that is uniquely our own. So the goal isn't really to copy what inspires you, but to start telling your story from what inspires you. And the theme of Quilt Africa Tribe is creating your own body of work. So let the inspiration continue to help you create your own body of work. I want to thank our wonderful guest, Melinda Johnson, for sharing her experiences and insights with us. And I want to thank everybody who's watching and anybody who contributed to the chat. I want to thank you very much for joining in and continuing to make the Uncut Thread a special community. So I want to leave you with one challenge. Search for one artist you've never heard of, and then take their inspiration to stretch your creativity and make something of your own. So until the next time I host the Uncut Thread, I want to thank everybody, and I want to wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day. Keep creating and keep experimenting. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
for having me.